And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to wherever you're watching from here in the Philippines and from all over the world. And welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I interview the country's pioneering and trailblazing business personalities and entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about doing business. What are their success secrets? Can we replicate those success secrets? And more importantly, how have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic, and what opportunities do they see emerging in our post new normal environment? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur that you would like me to interview here on the podcast? Please let me know. I would love to learn from them. Just drop me a message. We are also live right now on YouTube, Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and now the Bounce Back Network. Tonight, I feature a very proud entrepreneur, tech startup entrepreneur coming from the Eastern Visayas region. Very happy to have over here, just like myself, a former proctoid. And proctoids are usually people who worked in Procter and Gamble. We all share a common bond, no? We have Mr. Nel Laygo, who is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Peddlr Philippines, a mobile application developed by a startup company, proudly again hailing from Eastern Visayas. Peddlr has helped many micro, small, and medium enterprises in managing inventory and bookkeeping, especially with their features, which have digital ledgers and storefronts for businesses. With Peddlr, starting an online business or even businesses with physical stores can be managed thoroughly in different aspects, from sales to inventory to accounting and reports, just through your mobile devices. And even better, Peddlr works offline and can function without the internet. So may I please welcome here on the show right now, very proudly, we have Mr. Nel Laygo. Nel, welcome to the show.
Yes, hello. Hi, RJ. Thank you for having me on this show.
Very happy
Really
to have you over
appreciate it.
here, Nel.
Yep.
Nel, pakibati naman yung mga taga Eastern Visayas dyan na nakikinig sa iyo ngayon dito sa Visayas pati sa buong mundo.
Yep. So, yeah, hello for the people of Samar, especially for Catbalogan, and for my entire team who I think is watching right now from
Ayan,
Catbalogan.
salamat. Oh, sa vernacular na lang, sa dialect mo para marinig dito yung dialect nyo.
So, yan. So, maupay na gabi yung tanan nga na mamate. So, I welcome you na pamate for this podcast para maintindihan niyo about on store and peddler, kung paano kami nagtikang, tapos kung ano namon ginahihimo, yan na, para an micro and small businesses sa Pilipinas. Thank you.
Fantastic. And before we start, Nel, I want everybody to know, you can keep your mic on, no, just in case. So no need to mute your mic, no. Let's just make sure that people can start checking out Peddlr right now. What is the website of Peddlr that they can visit right now so we can post it online?
Yep, so they can go to www.peddlr.com Peddlr, Peddlr.io.
Okay, great, fantastic. Mike, can you post that online right now? It's peddler, that's without an E, peddlr.io. There you go. At the same time, for those listening, we got a lot of love coming from the Eastern Visayas. We've got Janri Reyes Tomioka giving us a rocket ship emoji over here. Thanks so much for listening to us right now, Janri. Now, Nel, one of the big news which came out earlier this year about Peddler was this one. 4.3 million in seed funding. That's amazing, Nell. Can you just tell me, just for anybody, like for yourself, and we'll talk about it later on, from a corporate background, then you went to entrepreneurship, and all of a sudden, 4.3 million US dollars technically in your pocket to build a company. How did that feel for you?
So actually, it was not much more of overwhelming because like initially when we do the fundraising, we alam na namin kung how much money we will be needing in order to push the envelope on the next level for Peddler in terms of growth in terms of user base, and also growth in terms of organization that will support that acquisition of users, etc. and all. So everything was planned initially, even though on the fundraising side. So the 4.3 million came after 2 months after we closed our pre-seed round, which was like 500,000, the initial fundraise. So technically we
Wow.
just raised like somewhere around like 4.9 million US dollars in total funding, both pre-seed and seed round. Yep.
Fantastic. Bravo. Congratulations. A lot of people congratulating here right now online. I want to just shout out to them. You got Jerick San Pedro saying, let's go. Come on, Mike. Let's show that right now on screen. Jerick San Pedro saying, let's go. We also have Apple de Guia saying, Peddler sa kalam. Di ba? And Mrs. Pami, ahu, ahu. Really, people supporting you over here. And we've got Marie Iglesias Lee. Sabi niya, laban lang, peddler. Really great thing that you guys are doing here right now. I'm just curious. When you had to go, from what point were you able to move from raising money? I mean, from coming with the initial idea to raising your initial seed. How much time was in between that?
So so in terms of like the total timing, it's really more or less somewhere around like 8 to 9 months. So from building the MVP to creating attraction from the beta cycle until we launch it July last year, then we close out 5 months after we close out our pre-seed round November last year. So it was really more of like we were not fundraising at the moment during that time. It was like we're building the product, we're building the community, which we have like in Facebook, and then all of a sudden, like Franco from
Foxmont.
from Foxmont, sorry, yeah, and all of their guys, no. So parang Jacob messaged me, hey Nel, just want to check out what you're building, etc. and all. Then yeah,
Wow.
tiningnan namin. Then yeah, apparently they were interested. Then the first people to put some check on Peddler was the angel investors on the network of like Luis Sia, Francis Plaza, and all other angel network from the Filipino community na mga founders. So parang ganun. So they were the first one who gave like somewhere around 50,000, 100,000 US dollars check. Then nag-compound na siya from Foxmont, from Kaya, and for the regional investors to come in during the seed round. So parang ganun siya. So nagsunod-sunod na. It was not really planned in terms of fundraising, but we needed the fund for us to grow in terms of like the organization and the technology that we've been building. So yeah. So it all started during the pandemic kasi yeah, and four of us started the company. Me, Aiko, and our like founding developers team like Nelson, Mel, and Francis
Shout out to all of them
Villanueva.
listening here right now,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go a bit more into your story later on, Nell. Nell, so that just meant during the first 8 months when you were developing it, you weren't really looking at angel investors when you were putting this together. You weren't looking at funders. You were just developing it yourselves, right? Is that right?
Yep. Yep. Because it before Peddler, I used to have like previous startup called Hybes. I know how hard it is to raise funds, especially if you don't have traction, if you don't have that like the connections who will do some introduction. Uh, our bet was like we will just build the product, build the traction, create the data, and yeah, I think because I'm a believer like traction cures all doubts. Eh. So if you have
I
the
like that.
data, you have the
Traction.
numbers,
I want to say that. I want to say that again. For any of the entrepreneurs and startups out there, I love that
mm,
that gem of wisdom. Traction eliminates all doubts. Tama ba ako?
yep. So traction cures all doubt. So parang ganun yung thinking namin. Kasi like nobody will be doing an intro kasi we're like a team from Eastern Visayas, from Catbalogan City, and no pedigree, no connections, etc. So like, yeah, so the strategy was to build the product, get more users to use the application, and the growth was organic when we initially started.
And then I just want to ask. Well, we're going to throw around some terms over here, and hopefully some people will explain it also as well later on. No, with the 8 months that you were doing Peddler, was that all bootstrap, meaning that the money was coming out of your own pocket to develop that app? And if you were bootstrapping, where did the previous funding come from when you were doing the bootstrapping? Talaga from your previous work, from your previous app?
So it's really more of like bootstrap talaga siya from the get-go. So I could put some money, then me some resources as well. So parang everything just contributed. But the good thing is like me coming from finance, I know where to stop. So we just put a limit. So okay, this is like the the runway that we have. We need to build this and create the traction. If hindi siya mag-fly, then we're gonna toss it around. But apparently, mid halfway, everything gets viral. Everybody was using it. People were talking about it. So I think it was like the trigger point of like I think we have something with Peddler. Because like even Peddler, the initial idea is not the current platform or the current model is not the initial idea that we have been working on the get-go. So parang we created an MVP, we released it to market, we listened to the users, and we found out like
And
okay,
just in
so they
case,
want this.
can I step back, Nel? Can you explain to people for those first time who appreciate what does MVP mean, so that we can get a bit of a startup 101 lecture over here?
Yeah, sure. So MVP is like the most viable product that you have, meaning it's the early version of the application that you have created. So for us, hindi siya ganun ka-sexy, walang kulay, walang UI, walang mga ganun. So walang mga hindi siya like all other apps right now na magaganda yung design. It was really functional, may mga buttons, pero gumagana siya. It serves the purpose.
Really, and it was just to test if people like the app, right? Or people like what the app is about. Tama ba ako dyan?
Yep, yep, exactly, exactly.
So then after that, when you tested the MVP, what did you discover? Because is it right to say, Nell, that when people start doing this one, and this is what many entrepreneurs don't realize also when you do startup world, that your first app or your first what you thought of as the first project or your first product is not going to be your final product. Usually, it just it actually course corrects and iterates along the way. Tama ba ako dyan?
Yep, exactly, exactly. The only constant from day one until now is the problem that we wanted to solve. The solution like had went through different phases, then it went through different like lens in terms of like approach on how to attack the problem, but at the end of the day the problem remains constant, which is like inventory management. If we rank all of these problems that we wanted to solve when we initially went to market, the number one issue that we were trying to solve is like inventory management
Mhm,
ng
mhm.
mga micro and small business owners, which even like pen and paper cannot resolve right now. Walang other alternative on the market.
Well, that's the amazing thing about where we are, no, that you actually find the solutions on the way. They don't come the first time around, but you've got to parang you. The thing with startup is you've got to get into it so that
Yep,
you can make you,
exactly.
you can that you will fail. I mean, you are built to fail in some parts because your failure is just a way for you to understand how to do it better. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. So the building principle that we have like in Peddler is basically more of like fail fast, pick up the learning and move forward. Kasi even like yung development cycle namin sobrang bilis, 7 days. We just want to get it on the hands of the users, then listen to the feedback to all of this like what do you call this suggestions, and we build it based on like what we think is like will help a lot of users along the way. So para siyang ganun. So there are like modules, there were features na nag-flop pero tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung build namin.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I think that's very key for many people listening here right now on the startup journey. It's not a clear cut journey when you move through it. And having talked about all that one, no, I think now it's time to I think now it's time to ask you, if you were to make a pitch, or what was your initial pitch when you were talking to investors? What did you describe uh, Peddler as being?
So it's really more of like Peddler is a inventory management application that helps you manage your inventory, book your receivables, accounts payables, and it can on day one you can use our online store to share your inventory or product catalog or even like take sales through social media. So parang ganun
Wow.
yung value proposition namin.
Okay. I understand that from a business standpoint. How do I explain that to the manangs and the small business owners and yung mga sari-sari stores out there who are the
Yeah.
actual, I guess, target market of your app? How do you laymanize that?
So it's really more of like it more of like this is a replacement yung replacement ng pen and paper nyo. So ganun lang siya. So listahan
So,
siya ng sales, ng utang, ng receivable, ng payables nyo.
but what makes it superior to having your pen and paper? Ano sinasabi mo sa kanila? What makes it superior to have Peddlr over just doing your pen and paper?
Actually, that's the main selling point talaga na-absorb nung segment, even like yung mga ng mga what do you call this, non-techie users with Peddler is really more of like they know that they have problem on inventory management. Kasi there have been like users that have been doing business for decades or mas matagal pa nga doon, then
Mhm.
they still don't know how much in peso value all of those inventories that they have on their store. Hindi nila alam kung nananakawan ba,
Mm.
nasisira or nawawala, all of those things. So everybody has all of those pain points all across businesses, malaki ka man or maliit. When we presented the value proposition about inventory management, like mamomonitor mo yung stocks, ano yung lumabas, ano yung kulang, ano yung mga bibilhin pa. So that's where everything makes sense to them.
I see, I see.
Kasi
Now,
yun yung number one pain point eh. Yung like yung listahan ng sales, etc. Just like the secondary value that we have created along the way.
fantastic. And what I particularly like, I guess it's a pain point which you also found out, and we'll really discuss the journey later on. Is that that it's also available offline, so that they can just upload
Yep,
it later on. I think that was a key feature, don't you? I mean,
yep,
especially in a country like ours, where the internet
yep,
is not equally available everywhere else.
yep, exactly. So yun yung parang napansin namin. Initially, hindi naman siya offline, eh. Online talaga siya. Then apparently, most of the user were requesting na, ay, wala akong pambayad ng data to use this on a daily basis. Then that kicks in, like, okay, that's the insight on the market. It's a very good insight. Then we just tweak the application to work it offline. So
Wow,
parang ganun. So
perfect.
everything is like designed and suggested by the user. We just stick towards the problem that we want to solve.
Yeah.
So
So
parang ganun.
very nice. The idea is that the problem remains the same. The way that you solve it can change. Di ba? That's what
Yep.
we want. So
Mm.
in the startup, that's really it. And we're gonna go into the different iterations of how Peddler came about in just a bit. But now, after we talked about your background, again, I want to say good evening to everybody who greeted us here right now. We've got Trisha Basal who's greeted us in 705. Sabi niya, good evening. Thanks so much, Trisha, for listening in. Guys, if you're listening in here right now, I want to know where you're listening in from. Are you listening in from Visayas or from Luzon, Mindanao? Let me know. We also have got Cecil Alombro. Good evening to both of you, sir. And Geraldine Monsanto with a smiley face. And Eloisa Villanueva. Thanks also for the hearts. Thank you so much for listening to the RJ Ledesma podcast. Now, having said all this one, at the start of the program, I said that me and Nell share common ground with regard to our. Hi, Joyce. Today I'm listening from Pasig. Thanks so much for listening to us, Joyce. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Let me know if you guys also have some questions for Nell. I would love to ask it from him as we talk. Now, like I said earlier on, both Nell and I, we share the same corporate background. Like for many of us, my first big job was Procter and Gamble, and that for me was like training for the Marines. Diba? That's like marketing Marines yan, diba, Nel? when you
Yep.
when you go, parang FMCG, fast moving consumer good business, and it's like an MBA by working for them in the business. Was that also your first job out of college?
Out of college, I worked for 1 year with Citibank, yung sa Makati din. Then after 1 year with Citibank, I moved to Procter and Gamble. So
Did
yeah,
you did you did you do your college in Manila, or was it in the province?
no, it was in Cebu. So University of San Carlos. I graduated with a degree of uh, accountancy. So
Okay,
I'm a
great.
finance guy by training.
And finance has been a fantastic background. Oy, we got somebody from Catbalogan, Criselda Joy Digas, listening from Catbalogan City. Magandang gabi, mga kapedler. Thank you so much for listening to us, Criselda. So, what I wanted to, sort of bring out in my discussion right now is that actually, uh, the corporate world is also a good background to start off looking at problems. Diba? I mean, I guess that's where it all started there, no? And eventually you made the jump to the entrepreneurial world. And I want to see that sort of journey for you. But what were the key things that you picked up, I guess, no? From how long did you stay in PNG?
So, like 4 5 years.
4 and 5 years. And after that one, I guess you moved to their beloved
Unilever.
competition, Unilever, after that one, no?
Yeah, Unilever. So 4 5 years then dun sa kabila.
Well, so about 9 years doing corporate work. What were the key things that you picked up from them that were good? And what did you also pick up from them that eventually became the seeds of what you learned, that gave birth to Peddlr? So first of all, what are the key things that you gained from working in the finance world, especially in a multinational corporation?
Yeah. So actually, in terms of like all the skill sets, then the principles of doing things, I think PNG had helped a lot in terms of inculcating the discipline. Alam natin kung gaano kataas yung standards, all of those KPIs, all of this like 5 racks. Iwan ko kung naabutan mo pa yan. So all of those things are very high. It's really more of like by hook or by crook kailangan mo mag-deliver. So all this working discipline, work ethics really came from PNG. Then how to plan projects based on like critical timings. Those things, all of those skill sets was yun yung parang nakuha ko with PNG. Then when I moved to Unilever, so parang Unilever somehow awaken the founder's mindset on my end because
Oh,
on the
wow.
different way they do things. So parang founder's mindset yung pinupush talaga nila. So ito lang, I don't know if everybody will agree, but like yung na-observe ko with PNG, everything's are planned out, then everything needs to be executed based on the plan, which is good. But
Mhm,
yung kay
mhm.
Unilever, when I went to Unilever, may plan pero mostly hindi siya nasusunod kasi mabilisan ginagawa. Pero at the end of the day, nade-deliver pa rin yung expectation. So para kang startup talaga doon. Even like creating your own project, para kang gumagawa ng sarili mong startup. Sobrang bilis ng mga nangyayari. And I think that's yung realization ko along the way nung lumipat ako. And this is maybe like my own personal opinion. Siguro hindi mag-agree yung iba. It's like, that's one of the reason why Unilever during that time when I shifted company has a very good blueprint on Southeast Asia because they were very fast of going and getting all of those opportunities. Kasi mabilis sila eh. Parang magplan initially, they know that it will not work out, but at the end, yung goal ganun pa rin eh. Alam mo yun?
Mm.
So parang those are the skill set that nakuha ko from different companies.
I like that. Can you tell me a bit more about, you talked about the founder's mindset, and I think that's key. That part of it was the seeds were planted when you were in Unilever, and you said it's about the sort of like the, you have to be agile. You can't always have the plan cannot be set in stone, diba? That's basically it, right? What else did you learn about the mindset that you need, and how it eventually contributed to you becoming an entrepreneur?
So it really more of like nung na kay Unilever na ako, ang daming project na where you can build, automate and all of this like tools, then para kang nagpi-pitch. Okay, I have this problem. This is the solution that I want to do. Then my boss Fatima, like let's say, okay, just do it. Let's say if like anong mangyayari afterwards. So they give me all of those freedom to deliver and create this kind of tools and like automations, data analytics. Then yeah, parang yun yung parang stepping stone ko of creating all of these tools na parang project based na parang gumagawa ka rin ng sarili mong startup. Kasi not only the solution, you need to plan from the people, and the going forward and the sustainability of the process na iiwanan mo later on. So parang ganun. And when I jump shift from PNG to Unilever, I founded like a 2016. I founded a startup na rin sa province ko, which is in Catbalogan. It's called Hybes. So doon ko siya tinest.
Wow, so you mean to say that you were multitasking ka na, moonlighting ka na.
Mm.
You
Ah.
were working
So
in lever.
nag-leave ako ng siguro mga before I jump shift, parang may 2 months na gap. Went back to the province, started this one, etc. So eh, parang yung delivery service siya, on-demand personal assistant siya through SMS. So doon namin tinest, etc. Very small operations. Then nung medyo okay na yung mga pillars, doon na ako bumalik, nag-start. And then I was managing it remotely. Hindi naman siya ganun ka-heavy in terms of operation kasi wala kaming mga KPIs, walang investors. Slowly but surely, like we managed to turn around the company and scale it out to 18 cities, as I call it, like emerging cities ng Pilipinas, which is part of like Visayas, Mindanao, Iloilo, Bacolod, or Mokta, Tacloban, and all other emerging cities. So doon, kung saan wala yung Food Panda, Grab, so mga ganun siya.
And this was 20, you said this in between your in
2016.
2016. I'm curious. This is great. That's your first attempt at entrepreneurship, and you didn't leave your day job because you knew naman you could manage it on the side. How did you identify? I was going to ask you, how did you sort of identify that opportunity while you were there, and how did you approach it? Because this is nice. This is like your this is like your thesis in entrepreneurship. Ay, parang practical mo, di ba?
Yep. So I actually medyo may mga small businesses na rin ako na brick and mortar, but yung nag-trigger point talaga for startups when I read this article before leaving PNG about the first company that got funded by Y Combinator.
Mhm.
Nakalimutan ko yung name pero more of like parang parang job street something yung model nila. Nakalimutan ko siya. Pero
The local one, my combinator here in the Philippines, Caliber.
yeah, that one. I read that article and it was like, oh, so Y Combinators, it's like there's an opportunity of this one. Parang yun yung parang trigger point ko na pwede pala. Then after that, yung tipong hindi ka na nakakatulog kasi ang dami ng idea pumapasok sa'yo. Then sobrang itchy na siya. Okay, I'll just gonna do this, try this one, and launch it as fast as I can. So parang ganun siya.
Great. And you said that so you were running both businesses at the same time, and of course you were working for one and you were running the other one. Um, I wanted to ask. You said that there came a point that it what high best was the name again of the business. Is that correct?
Yep.
When you're doing high best, you said that there was a point that it wasn't doing too well, and then eventually you had to fix it up. So tell us a bit more about that journey, the first business.
Yep. So 2016, I founded it. Very, very small operations. I just want to learn the ropes on how to build things and how to go to market and make money out of it. So like one city lang talaga siya. It was no intention or like even have no ambition na palakihin siya. So kung I was having this decision point of like if I'll be having an MBA or start this startup and pick up the learnings along the way. So parang mas makakamura yata ako dito sa investment ko sa startup. Kaysa mag-MBA ako that it will take me for 4 years additional tapos medyo mas mahal. Dito na lang ako, aralin ko na lang yung mga learnings. Kasi mabilis pag on the job talaga yung learnings which I've learned from PNG. That's how things are being done. Pag on the job yung tapos hands-on, mabilis yung learnings talaga.
And then, so what did you learn? I guess by doing the first startup that you had high best that eventually planted the seeds also for you for Peddlr. What are the key learnings as in your first business that you got?
So yung major learning ko talaga with Hybris is like raise fund as early as possible if you see potential and traction and product market fit. Kasi yun yung parang biggest regret ko. Kasi nung na-realize ko, one of the decision kung bakit pala ako nag-resign, nung nasa Singapore ako, there was this like,
Singapore
nagsisimula
for
na ng
Singapore for PNG or
Unilever
for Unilever? Okay,
2018, 2019. May naglalabasan ng news na this company got funded, sila Francis Plaza of Paymongo got funded. So parang ayaw kong mahuli. So yun yung reason na umuwi ko, ayusin ko to, papalakihin ko to. So yun yung parang trigger point na all in, bahala na. Kasi like parang yun yung parang signal na Philippines is ready na for fundraising. Tapos yun kasi yung stubbornness ko before with Hybes. Like kasi ayaw ko mag-fundraise kasi yung mga available funds na pwede mong kunan ng pera before will take half of your body. Like
sa cap table mo,
sa cap
your
table. So
capitalization. Yeah.
kakainin yung ownership. So wag na lang, papatakbuhin na lang slowly at papalakihin based on like the money coming in. So parang ganun. Then apparently when Food Panda Grab aggressively scale out to different cities kung saan kami player, doon ko na realize na they have all the money and they have what it takes to crush everyone na nasa
Right?
daan nila. So parang ganun. So yun yung isang takeaway ko dun. Then yung second is much more of like building the right team talaga. Kasi hindi mo kaya kung isa ka lang, malulunod ka talaga, especially like ang daming gagawin.
Got that. So while you were in Singapore working for Unilever, Hybris was being run over here, and when did you make the decision point to, I guess, quit your job in Lever and then come back to the province? And you were running
Y-
to run Hybris, is that right? That
Yep,
was your
one
initial
city
plan.
pa lang yun eh. One city pa lang yun.
Okay, so you left. I mean, that for me, that's a big decision. For many people, kasi to leave a comfortable, high-paying corporate job, and uwi ka sa sa inyo, to run a business that is not, still potential. For some people, that's a no go. But what made you decide to jump ship?
So it was easier for me kasi I don't have family, I don't have wife or children to support. So everything is on me. If like it fails, ako lang yung impacted. Then much more of like yung craving ko to to materialize yung mga gusto kong gawin. Kasi there had been like almost 1 week, 2 weeks na when I was in Singapore reading all of these articles about local companies getting funded na hindi ka na talaga makatulog every night. So parang you are missing a lot of things. So yeah, I think so that was the decision point na okay, I'll go all in na talaga. So yun.
Okay, so it's like the opportunity cost in your head. You couldn't let go of it, and you flew back kaagad
Yeah.
to
Yung
run the
yung
business.
hinahawakan ko na lang doon if everything goes south for the startup uh, things for me, I can easily go back to corporate world naman eh. Alam mo yun?
Got
So
that.
parang okay, so yun na lang, go na.
Got got that. I want to greet lang also Tata Galasanay Uy Kalinaya. Magandang gabi mga kapetler listening from Tabon, Bislig City. Thanks so much for listening to us, Tata. Mike, let's pull that up, Mike, if you can. And we also have right now listening to us over here, Vavan Togado. Let's go, Master Nel. Thanks so much, Vavan. And Raymond Ekaranum listening from Misamis Oriental. Thanks so much for listening to us from all over the Philippines. So now, let's go back to your story. Nel, you came back to the Philippines. You had high best. What was next? What did you have to do next? Because right now you're facing the potential competitiveness coming from the food delivery players that had a lot more money than you.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, they went to our emerging cities kung saan kami nag-operate. They have all the monies. Then after like 6, 8 months of like bleeding, we decided to throw away the white towel because it really doesn't make sense business fundamental wise. Kasi they were burning a lot of money. Nagsusunog ng pera si Foodpanda pati si Grab. So for us, wala na talaga. So then after that, naghiatas ako ng 2, 3 months. Then apparently, got a reflection of like, if I'll be doing this again, anong space yung masasabi ko na I know a lot of things, I have a lot of insights. Kasi like in startup world, the 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 valuable currency on your initial stage is like yung insights mo talaga sa market. You need
Mm-hmm.
to have all of those like small insights that will be the foundation of the solutions that you will be building. Insights on the problem, insights of the users. Then for me, it was very, very clear because for 4 years, I've been working with the micro and small businesses sa mga tier 2, tier 3 cities ng Pilipinas. I've seen how they operate on a daily basis, ano yung mga ginagawa nila, ano yung pain points na meron sila. Tapos yeah, I think as my background in the corporate world, finance plus tool building, I decided to okay, I think we can build this solution for them, etc. So yeah, to make the story short, Peddlr was built.
Okay, I like that. So it really came. The insights that you gained really came from your previous work, diba? I mean that's where it came from, and it's a combination of what you got from your previous job. At the same time, your own skill set, your own expertise in being able to build this one came into play. But then, okay, after some people often think that okay, if I'm an entrepreneur, diba? Great idea. What's next? How do I do the software development? How do I do the app development? How do I get funding? What's the story after that, Nel?
So it was really more of like me, I have a corporate background about tool building. So hindi siya bago sa akin, like yung creating nitong mga applications. So plus pa yung accounting side of things. So I think I'm the best fit to do the job because of like that yung debit credit ng accounting plus pa yung tool building. So the challenge was how to grow and get the initial users on the get-go. Okay, may product kami pero sino gagamit, 'di ba? So yung challenge kasi before when we introduce it to our friends, etc., iba yung sinasabi nila, sasabihin, sobrang ganda niyan, sobrang ganda. I think madami gagamit nito. But if you give it to them and you check the data back end, hindi naman pala nila ginagamit. So it's really more of like people will tell you differently versus how they behave on using the application. So sobrang importante talaga ng data. Kasi yun yung version of truth na titingnan talaga. So yun,
That
so when we went to market, hindi namin alam kung saan hahanapin yung mga users kasi gusto namin siya na organic lang talaga yung acquisition. So yung ginawa namin ni Aiko, we joined a lot of like Facebook groups like mga sari-sari stores, etc. and all. So nakakatawa nga kasi nung nag-join kami doon, yung tawag namin yung farming, magpo-post kami, yung mga ginagamit naming creatives, yung mga professional ones, etc. So magpo-post kami na may application kami ganito, etc. And nobody would like ah, walang nagkaka-interest doon sa mga postings namin. Then apparently na-frustrate na kami ni Aiko, nag-type na lang kami doon. Sino may gusto ng stock management na application? Mamo-monitor niyo yung stocks niyo, etc. As in like raw posting, then everybody came in like fishes. Doon
wow,
namin
what a
nakuha
great
yung
what a great learning, huh?
oh,
What a great learning
kasi
that was.
parang yung insight namin doon is parang na-intimidate yung ibang mga users kasi like professionally done yung creatives, yung mga ganon. But if you talk to a level na naintindihan nila na mas honest, I think that's where we got the trust of the initial 100 user base.
So parang gusto nila yung parang authenticity na galing talaga
Mm.
sa I mean
Yeah,
I guess sometimes that happens to us, 'di ba? Uh it looks too aspirational or too expensive, 'di ba? Or can look too expensive. So we had to
yeah, exactly. Parang natatakot or na-intimidate na yung mga users eh, pag ganun.
got that. Was there a point when you were doing the business where you felt like, oh no, it might not. I mean, all of us go through that as entrepreneurs, right? Parang it might not work. Was there a low point for you when you were developing high best, or when you were doing high best, or when you were doing Peddlr and you felt like you might want to quit? I mean, for all of us, we go through those times. Eh.
Yep. So I think there would always be a point na low point talaga. So the difference between me doing the Hibes thing and the peddler stint right now is like before for Hibes, wala kang makausap, wala kang masharean ng mga stress points mo eh. Alam mo 'yan? Then right now, you have you have Aiko and the initial team na binild mo just to come up with the initial product. Shared yung stress, shared yung responsibility. So I think yun yung parang mas nakagaan kaysa as like solo founder ka sa'yo lahat. Then I do acknowledge na everybody has their own strengths and just build a team that could somehow be like magfi-fit dun sa other skill sets na wala ka. Alam mo yun? Kasi everything needs to work perfectly based on their kanya-kanyang skill sets, pati mga strengths. And the opportunity areas will just gonna be picked up by some other people who has very strong skill sets on that side. So just to cover up the entire base. So parang ganun. Yun yung parang change. Tapos yun, hindi siya ganun ka-stressful kasi if may problem, we talk about it and strategize and move on. Kasi
Wow.
malungkot yung buhay ng entrepreneur. At alam mo yun, RJ.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling exactly. Actually, I'm thinking back right now to 2016. There weren't many people to talk to about your problems because the startup community was, nascent stage and parang it was still. I have to admire all the entrepreneurs who emerged before 2012, 2010 to 16 because the capital structure was still very not favorable to startup entrepreneurs. There wasn't a big community, not like right now where you have a lot of support,
Exactly.
no?
Ngayon
Oh,
may support system na like for me, nandyan sila Franco, sila Ron, sila Dennis, all of those friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you could
Before it
talk to
was
all of them
very
now.
lonely. It was very lonely.
Exactly. And so this is actually an ideal time. So people listening right now, if you're a tech startup entrepreneur, this is a great time. Over here, I got my good friend Paul Pajo from the College of St. Benil saying, "Love the peddler story. Thanks for featuring them, RJ." Yeah, Paul, I've been wanting to feature. Matagal ko na nililigawan si Nel para mag-guesting dito. So I'm just
Sorry
glad
nga,
we. No,
sobrang
no, it's
busy
okay.
ako.
I'm so glad we got the same time to guest over here. And then Nel, On the flip side, I want to ask you, when did you start feeling like you look at Peddler, you're going, wow, it's gonna work. There are a lot of people who are gonna I think it's gonna be a great app because I felt the same way sometimes in Mercato people say, parang when I saw when one night I saw thousands of people or hundreds of people coming in and out of the market, I said, wow, Mercato's gonna make it. When did you think that Peddler's gonna make it?
So actually, as I said, parang we started with the first 100 customers, iterate, release, iterate. Then nagsimula kasi kami like tatlong developer then me leading the product side. Tas Aiko is like doing the operations. Parang there was a point nung nag-release kami ng version na hindi namin alam kung yun na talaga yun. Then apparently, paggising ko ng madaling araw, 1 AM pumutok na yung server.
Wow.
So hindi ko rin alam yung gagawin kung ano yung gagawin. So yung ginawa ko, bumili ako ng bumili ng server online kahit mas costly siya, tas out of budget. Tapos every 3 hours pumuputok talaga siya. So parang
Wow.
okay, so yun na talaga yun. Then yeah, I think that was doon na yung nag-usap-usap kami. I think we need funds to keep supporting this micro and small businesses para magamit nila yung application for free. So yeah, doon na siya. So the growth was heavily organic and exponentially based on like referrals talaga, word of mouth.
Got it. Got that. And can you give me now an idea of where how Peddler began? What is the current state in terms of, I guess, your KPIs during the time, or how many customers you had at the time when you started off? And then now, just give me an idea of how just big Peddler is right now.
So we just concluded like 2 million downloads last month.
Wow.
Yep, so that's how big it is right now in terms of growth. Like given like parang one year and a half 1 year and 1 month pa lang siya on the market.
And for those people who mostly downloaded your product, these are mostly small business owners.
Yep, micro and small businesses. Though there are other people who are using it like yung mga medium size na may mga franchise etc but they wanted to customize but apparently we don't do customization at the moment because so we are building a product that fits all the requirements for micro and small businesses right now.
Got that. So when and now that the product is running now, another question people also have though when they put up an app is what's the business model? How exactly does Peddler make money from developing an app which is being used by small business owners?
So initially when we went to market wala talaga kaming revenue like as in like we're giving it for free. We just want to help and solve the problem on the ground. Right now we had release monetization like yung e-load, sell e-load namin because it totally makes sense. Most of the users of Peddler are using the application to monitor their digital inventory. Tas may mga sarili pa silang phone sa side. So we incorporated it from selling going to accounting to inventory management. So that's one. Then we will transform some of the sari-sari stores later on to accept bills payment and also ATM parang they can transact to cash out, cash in for ATM transactions with Land Bank and all other banks in the Philippines. So parang
Got
ganun
that.
yung tinitingnan namin. So it's more of like giving the layer the product for free and building on top layers to monetize the user base
Okay.
right now. But it's
So,
more of monetization na hindi sila makukuhanan ng money but more of like helping them grow by creating more businesses for them. So parang ganun yung thinking.
and that's where the money's gonna come from the layered product that you create on top of Peddler. So Peddler
Yep.
is free, but to secure the layered products will require some. Is it
No,
for
no. Like
subscription or commission?
so like if you're using Peddler and you want to sell e-load, so sa mga Peddler user pala natin dyan sa community kung nakikinig man kayo, magbenta na kayo ng e-load gamit yung Peddler. Kasi doon lang kami kikita. So pero binabalik naman namin yung some of the margins to them eh, like through rebates. So parang ganun. So parang gagamitin lang nila, kikita pa sila at masusustain pa namin yung business. So
Yeah.
parang
It
ganun siya.
reminds me of my interview last week with Ash Mandian of Metaverse Go, who came from Facebook as well. I mean, that's the same logic of Facebook. Facebook's actually free, if you think about it. But the monetization comes in from the layered products, such as the
Yep.
boost post ads, such as, and that's mainly where you get it. And the other layered products which they create coming out of Facebook, that's where you
Yep,
make the
oo.
money.
Yung
That's
principle naman namin pati yung thinking what would benefit the larger group of the user base because one of the things na sasabihin ko na one of the things that we're looking at later on is more of like for sari-sari store, we will democratize the sourcing of your supplies. Alam ko may mga other players na, but this one is much more of different kasi we will be going to market to solve the inventory problem of ng mga sari-sari store. Just gonna check yung product and all available suppliers around your area will be there. Then we want Peddler to position like if you're new business owner, you just download the application, nandun na lahat, registration na DTI kung gusto mong magpa-register, nandun na siya lahat, all in stock. Tapos gusto mo magtayo ng sari-sari store, hindi mo alam yung product na bibilin, may mga starter pack kami nalalabas based on our data sets na kung 5,000 lang yung budget mo or 10,000, pipindutin mo lang yun, kami na bahala, yung AI na namin mag-auto sort ng products na ibebenta mo na siguradong malaki yung margin or maganda yung margin tapos mabilis mabenta ng mga products.
Great. So what I'm seeing here right now is really moving up the value chain that you're creating here, Peddler. You're integrating the value chain going forward and backward for the small business owner who comes on board using the Peddler app. And people talking about Peddler app is here as well. Nelson Bathan Jr., top fan, Cup Peddler here. He's saying, Mike, let's show that over there on screen. And we also have over here from Vavant Tugado again saying, I love Peddler. Thanks so much, Vavant, for participating over here. Now, I'm getting to see really the bigger picture of Peddler. And from the data analytics and from your entire view of the market, Nel, where do you see other entrepreneurs who can still participate sort of like in the Peddler ecosystem or in the whole sari or small business scene? Where do you see the opportunities for them to grow businesses?
Actually, on the segments that we're playing, it's like really, really big. It's not a zero sum space. So there are a lot of people who can play differently, different giving different products. Kasi like for example, there are other things on the micro and small business segment that are still underserved right now, pero madami pa ring mga problema. Like for example, yung mga what do you call this? Yung sourcing nitong mga products ng F&B, food and beverage company na maliliit, hindi nila alam saan bibili ng mga styrofoam, plastics, all of those things. So, ang daming opportunity, all of those.
Got it,
You
got it.
just,
So it's fine. You have to integrate now into the Peddler ecosystem, parang ganyan.
yeah po, if you want to supply all of those things, we have the data, we know who you can sell to these micro and small businesses.
Fantastic, fantastic. Really great. I got a great question coming in from Paul Pajo over here, and I think it's really nice. He's saying, based on Nels and Peddler team's insights, what adjacent problems needs to be solved that Peddler isn't solving yet that, you're willing to share with other people, that you're willing to say, okay, you guys can solve it because, I got thought to solve already, but you guys can also address these other pain points.
Mm. So the what do you call this? The utopian way to look at this is like there's opportunity areas of like migrating this micro and small businesses to digital payment, as in like cash free transactions. But for where the Philippines right now, medyo matatagalan pa tayo doon kasi there need to be an incentives for this micro and small business owners to accept like wallets, all other like online payments, and there's also a benefit and incentives for the buyers to use it na right now hindi pa namin ma-figure out kung ano yung klaseng incentives na yun.
Yeah.
Pero like if we can crack that problem and we can create a solution around that, it will be a massive opportunity.
Fantastic. And I love it because and sometimes Peddler can figure that out yourself. Sometimes it takes getting in you. It's just why you really have to do the business to figure out what the clients want. It's not an easy.
Yep.
It's not a solution that you can think of
Kasi
one off.
yung insights namin, everybody are claiming that they're targeting MSME in the Philippines in terms of online payments, etc. But the real insight is like you cannot touch with the micro and small business owners in the Philippines if you can't solve one of the problems that they have right now in order for them to migrate to digital payment, which is like yung settlement period.
Got that.
If you
Got that.
like a sari-sari store, you're playing for a 1,500 cash flow, tapos ipapadaan pa sa gateway payment, hahawakan yung pera ng 7 days, 5 days, wala, patay na yung
Wala na.
business. Oo.
Kailan pa ikutin yung tao kaagad.
Mm. It needs to happen real time. The transfer of funds needs to happen real time, and I think everybody's working on that already. Like we have open banking already present in the Philippines, and all wallets are looking at it na rin. Like we have
Got,
GCash, pero yun.
Got it.
Yep.
Over here, I want to bring back Paul's comment again. Thanks, Paul, for participating over here. He says, would love to link Peddler with Plantina, who we also had on this program as well. Maybe Nano Credit can solve that incentivized digital payments migration. So if you want to, Paul, if you want to, Nel, I've worked, this is the ecosystem I've developed also here in the RJ Ledesma podcast. Would love to introduce you to the other partners who might be able to help you out with your concern. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things, and we're starting to wrap up this discussion here right now, the podcast. But I want to know, where do you see you're taking Pedler 3 to 5 years down the road? Is it growth here in the country and expansion of your value chain, or do you see yourself moving to other countries where sort of like they've got the same sort of economic structure as the Philippines?
Yep. So I think what can I say in terms of the horizon that I have right now, like only like 2 3 years, we just want to focus on solving the problems in the Philippines. I don't know what will happen for 5 years, 10 years, but for sure there's an ambition or like a growth mindset of going to Southeast Asia later on. But right now there are a lot of things to be done for Philippines, and we want to stay where we are, and para like a lot of micro business owners will be helped along the way. So ganun lang namin tinitingnan siya ngayon.
Thanks. That's sort of like, if I may, no, it's sort of like the founder's mindset that you got from Unilever. Now, okay, let's just keep on doing it, and you'll figure something
Yep.
out along the way. But it's still the same
Darating
objective.
tayo dun eh.
Yeah.
Darating tayo dun. Kasi
Then
there's no
eventually,
perfect plan.
no perfect plan, and you might figure out along the way that yeah, just really deep diving into the Philippine ecosystem or economy might be enough for the business to grow, really scale up, right? So
Yep.
you never know. Now, having said all that, it's just been a truly, truly insightful discussion together with you, Nel. Um, from your corporate work, from your first startup to your current startup, which is doing very good, what would be your, I guess, three top management or business insights that you gained over the years that you want to share with your fellow startup entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs in general listening to us here right now on the podcast?
Yep. So I think that the number one or on the top of the list, which I think we've been practicing with peddlers, like it's okay to fail. You just need to fail fast and pick up the learning. Ganun lang kami dito sa team eh. Like you pick up the learning, move on, and learn again. So ganun siya. So that's the number one uh, on the list. Then second is like people are very important, especially the team. You need to take care of them, develop people, and how we hire in peddlers not really more of like what they did in the past. So what potential can we see right now and where they are going later on if they are given like the right guidance and the right training and the tools. So yun. Because like even right now, almost 60% of the people are locally hired from Katbalogan. So like yun. So people were saying it will not work. You need talents outside of the region or like yeah, for sure for the top level management, we're sourcing it like remotely from Manila or some other parts of Philippines. But yeah, we're giving opportunities for the local people to get that employment that they deserve in the summer.
Great. I love that. And you're also supporting the growth of the microeconomies in different regions. There's not always I need to centralize everything out of Manila. Any last piece you did say about learn from failure, good people, anything, any last piece of advice?
So, yep. So yung last learning ko is really more of like just enjoy the journey. A lot of problems will come in, for sure, but you take it at face value. Because like if your mind is like 2 months, 3 months from now, you lose the opportunity of giving your best right now on the current problem that you're facing.
I
Kasi
like
yung
that.
iba advance mag-isip parang nag-overthink na paano yung dumating yung ganito, etc. Hindi mo pa nga natatapos yung problem na hinaharap mo ngayon eh. Alam mo yun?
Okay.
So parang ganun lang.
I like that. Take your problems at face value. Solve this one muna. Don't think about the problems in the future. Solve the first problem right now. Aldria Winchell saying one of the things that she got from you is learn from your mistakes. Thanks so much, Aldria Winchell, for sharing that one. And for the people here listening again right now, let's do one more plug for Peddler. .io for the people who still. Let's onboard more people for Peddler right now. We're talking to people all over the country and all over the world. Encourage them why they should get Peddler right now.
Yeah, so if you have a small business or like you're planning to do a small business, I think it's time for you to download Peddler. It will help you manage your inventory, manage your accounts receivable and payables, and we have free store link. If you're selling it on Facebook, Instagram, etc., you can use Peddler. All right. Yep. Then
Uh,
join our Peddler community on Facebook if you have questions. We have a very active user community that you can ask and everybody will answer and support you.
well, thanks so much for joining us over here right now. Nel Laygo, Peddlr all the way from Eastern Visayas. Nel, pakibati ng last time. Pakibati mga tao sa Eastern Visayas and let's thank them for their support.
Yep, thank you so much everyone. Maupay nga gabi otro. Salamat niyo pamati hininga podcast ni RJ Ledesma. Thank you.
Again, thanks so much now for being here. Again, Jay Zapanta over here saying, love Peddlr. I'm gonna show that lang. He's showing his love for Peddlr here right now, Mike. Let's show that over there. And we have also as well Jerick San Pedro saying, pick up all the learnings and move forward. And lastly, we've got Kane Albert saying, thank you, Sir Nel Laygo, Peddlr team, and the community. Hashtag Peddlr lang sa kalam. Again, thanks so much for guesting here, the show Nel Laygo of Peddlr. And we'll see you guys again for the next RG Ledesma podcast. Guys, have a great night ahead. Have a great week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.